to do based on your merchandisers' plans, advertising, holiday changes, those kinds of things. We come up with an estimate of what we think we will sell for that particular day. Then we look at the number of hours used, and those hours are based again on the productivity, which is right here. Now for this department, on this day, in this location, the planned productivity is $325. So that's what we would expect that associate to have as a goal for that particular time. Now, I just want to let you know that we are using an example here. It doesn't necessarily mean your store or your department has that type of productivity, but we wanted to give you an idea of how that works with a comparison of total sales, the number of hours used, and the productivity number. Now, whether you're in a commission or a non-commission area, all associates need to have a sales goal. If you don't have a sales goal, it's kind of like traveling without a map. You really don't know where you're going. You might get there eventually, or you might end up somewhere else. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to establish sales goals for each of our associates. And again, they total up to that number. And if we had that goal of $3,900 for that particular day, our sales goals with our associates need to add up to that number. But you do want to make sure that those goals are attainable, because if you give an associate something that's really difficult to achieve, they may just give up before they even get started. They think, well, I'll never be able to do this.
Not even try.
Not even try. But as an MA, it's your job to work with your associates and see what they need for training, what they need for skills, to make sure that they are meeting or exceeding their sales goal each week. That's the standard, that's the minimum that we want to make sure that we're making sure everyone is contributing to our effort.
Okay, good point. Well, let me recap for you what Sherry walked you through a visual, and we'll give it to you the word version.
Okay.
What you would do is you take the planned sales from, as she mentioned, the 5114, and divide it by the number of hours, and that gives the hourly productivity goal. And then you multiply the number of hours that the associate is going to be working by the productivity goal. Of course, you adjust the goal for traffic patterns. If they're going to be working during a lunch hour, it may be bumped up some. And then you want to tell all associates the department's sales goal, because they're more likely to reach the goal when it's communicated and they feel a part of it. Now, if you have items on price break, here's a suggestion. Ask each associate to sell a certain number of units. Say you're in jeans, and you might ask them to sell a certain number of jeans. Or you might suggest that they sell a natural add-on item. For example, if you are in jeans, you might suggest that they sell an add-on of a belt or a polo shirt for every 1 out of 3 pair of jeans that they sell. Sometimes we have a slow-selling item, and one thing to think about is to ask each associate to suggest it to their customers. This may give it just what it needs to move profitably out of the store without having to take future markdowns on it. Now, once the goal has been set, it's important that all the associates know how they're doing. And we recommend that you recognize all associates that are meeting and exceeding the goal, because it lets the associate know that the goal is important and that you're monitoring them, but you're monitoring them as a coach, somebody that is concerned for them. If you don't acknowledge when somebody's doing a good job, you just figure, well, they'll just continue to do a good job, they may feel that you don't really care. It's not important what effort they put in, and they may be really putting in a lot of effort, but it's going unrecognized. And the next time you try to motivate them to reach a goal, they thought, well, it didn't make any difference the last time, it's not going to make any difference this time. We need to turn that around, because checking on an associate's progress and giving them the appropriate recognition is actually very motivational. Associates like that. And if you can't already do this, another thing that's coming, and this could be a little news flash, is that associates are going to be able to check their sales goals on the associate kiosk. And one suggestion that we could make on that would be have the associate pull a copy of his or her sales, and decide when to do it, and then schedule a one-on-one coaching session with them. If they're doing a great job, it's a time that you're kind of formally getting together and acknowledge what a great job they're doing. And if they need a little bit of help, it can be a productive coaching session. In one tool that can help associates, if you're not already using it, is and knowing their goals and how they're doing, is what's called a goal getter card. And I know you can't see this, so through the magic of having a scanner, we can put a graphic up. It looks something like this, and it's a tool for recording the scheduled number of hours that an associate's working, what the productivity goal is, their actual daily sales goal, plus their actual sales. So all this information you can see can be kept a month at a glance. They could look at a whole month. There's 5 weeks on this form. And it can be some great information for you and the associate to go over together. And before we get any calls, I should mention there's no jobs number for this. Typically, every district will create their own form. It has very similar information. It just may be a little bit different format. And we need to thank District 8413 for providing us with their version of it.
Okay. When we talk about setting goals as an MA, it's your responsibility to monitor the goals within your department as well as your own individually. And that's going to involve some coaching on your part. Now, this may be something you're doing already, maybe didn't call it coaching, but it might be something that as you work through with your associates, you realize that your relationship in coaching is a very important part of their success. In addition to knowing what their goals are, you're responsible to help them achieve those goals. And before we talk about that, let's give you some help, as we have a little coaching help here, some guidelines for how to prepare yourself before you work with an associate in a coaching opportunity. To have a successful outcome as you work with each associate, you need to be sure that you convey a positive, friendly, helpful attitude. That way the associate will feel like they can come to you, ask questions. If they're not sure of something, that you're the person that they need to go to. I kind of think sometimes when we think of a situation where someone's not doing something that we had expected, for many of us who are mothers like I am, you kind of start thinking about your children, and you think of maybe your team that way, but we want to change that thought pattern. They're not our children. We don't go and scold the associates that are not producing for us. We want to be sure that we treat them as an adult and treat them professionally, and we'll be sure to get professional results if we're approaching in that manner. Now, another consideration that you may want to think about is when you're working with an associate, you want to focus on the problem, not the person. So then we're looking at a behavior, or we're looking at a situation as opposed to you are. That specific behavior is the only thing that a person can change. They cannot change their personality. We can't say that we don't like their attitude, and that's one that comes across, well, I'm not sure I like this associate's attitude towards something. Well, what we need to do is look at behavior changes that will help them be more productive with us. So what we'd like to do now is just give you some guidelines for coaching an associate. And this is a situation where you have an associate who needs to improve in some way. And the first thing you want to do is speak to them as soon as possible. If we wait too long, it might be out of your mind and it might impact the message. At the same time, make sure that you're not upset or angry at the time you speak to them. But let's get to them really quick. And of course, we never want to correct an associate in front of others. This should be done privately. You may want to take them aside for a short conversation. Maybe it's something you can do very quickly in the corner. Maybe you need to step to a side stockroom or office. But make sure that they're in a comfortable situation with just the two of you. Tell specifically what is not acceptable, such as not addressing a customer by name. Maybe you noticed that as you went by. This lets them know what you observed and then what you expect from them, and only focus on one area of improvement at a time. This is not the time to pull out the laundry list and overwhelm the associate. We want to make sure that we're addressing each item individually. Then tell why it's not acceptable and maybe some of the effects of that particular behavior. Sometimes they don't realize how important it is, or the big picture, such as calling the customer by name. They may not understand that that really does help the customer feel more connected to our company, more connected to the store, and then she feels comfortable coming back because she's known personally. Ask for any of their recommendations. This should be a two-sided conversation, and when an associate comes up with a solution, it reinforces the learning, and it really gets them to commit to making the change. After we've identified that correct method of behavior, we probably want to maybe do a role play or practice, give them a try, and then finally assure them that you are on their side. And this helps them feel like part of the team. Again, it comes across as an adult relationship rather than a scolding relationship, and you want to make sure that you're giving them the support that says, you know, I know you can do this. This is something that would need a change, but I think this is something you can do. And that leaves the associate leaving your conversation in a positive situation. Now, once that's happened and they've left in a positive situation, you need to also, which means wipe the slate clean. Don't hold any grudges. Don't make it look like that you're not trusting them. You do want to follow through. You want to continue to observe that associate, but you do want to wipe the slate clean so both of you are going away with a very positive feeling from that particular coaching session.
Okay, that's good advice. And when you think about it, that's what you would want somebody that was coaching you to do, is wipe the slate clean.
Oh, yes.
Well, Sherry went through those steps, and they are in your teleclass notes, but she also mentioned that sometimes it's helpful for you when you're coaching an associate, based on what it might be, is to do a role play. Well, Sherry and I are going to do a quick little role play for you. We're just going to have the scenario that I'm the MA and I'm coaching Sherry, my sales associate, in a situation where she's not meeting the department's sales goals. So let me get started with, hi Sherry, I've been checking the records for our department as far as sales for over the last month, and the department average is about $90 per hour. However, yours is a little lower. Yours is averaging about $75 an hour. And I didn't know whether you thought about this, but in order for our department as a whole to make our goal, we need each of the associates within the department to be producing. How do you think you might be able to increase sales goals?
Well, I'm trying. I don't know.
Okay, I can see that you're frustrated. Would you like a suggestion from me?
Yeah.
Okay. When you think about it, on an hourly basis, the department average is $90, and you're averaging about $75. It's really only $15 difference. And here in the men's area, a lot of our items sell for $15 or a little more, a little bit less. Which item do you think your which item do you think your customers would appreciate your suggesting?
Well, St. John's Bay has been real popular, and you know those polo shirts have a lot of colors. Maybe something like that. Well,
that's a great suggestion because I love the shirt personally, and I know that the customers seem to really like the selection of colors that it's in. Well, think about this. If you suggested just one shirt more per hour to each customer, that could very likely get you at the department average.
Well, that sounds, yeah, that sounds like, because they're in buying other St. John's Bay or jeans or something like that. So, yeah, just be one more shirt.
So it sounds doable. Something you'll try.
Yeah, I can do that because I, like you said, the shirt's really good. And everybody who buys it comes back and says how much they like it. So I could tell the customers that even.
Okay, great. Well, you'll try that. And Sherry, I want you to know that we really appreciate your contributions to the department. I know that I can count on you. You're here every day that you're scheduled, and you're right on time, and that means a lot to the department also.
Okay, thanks.
So you can see that I let Sherry, I offered her the opportunity to come up with an idea of what would increase the sales. And I asked her if she wanted a suggestion from me, and I waited for her to say yes. And then she picked the shirt, and I second that nomination. So I was giving her support, but I was also getting her to buy into it because I let her make the suggestion. And I also let her know from the big picture standpoint, we're part of a department, we're part of a team, and in order for the team to reach its goal, we need each of the components or each of the sales associates producing. One of the most rewarding parts of being an MA can be to help other associates reach their full potential, because by putting some effort into developing sales associates, you can see them accomplish more, and you can take pride that a lot of it has to do with your efforts as an MA, and that gives people a very satisfying position. Along those lines, when we're busy, and we all know what it's like to be busy, we don't always remember that when we catch somebody doing something right, to acknowledge it. We really need to emphasize the use of positive feedback. We see somebody doing something good, and we think in our mind, oh, that's great that Sherry's doing that, but we don't say anything to the associate. And behavior that is rewarded is repeated, so if we want them to continue to do it, positive feedback has to outweigh negative feedback in order for us to be able to motivate associates. So let me give you some tips on positive feedback, or when you catch somebody doing something right. And the first thing you want to do is respond immediately. And I know we said we're sometimes busy, but it's much more meaningful when it's fresh in your mind and it's in their mind. Also, be specific. If they did something right, just don't say good job, say what it was that was good. For example, you did a nice job of restocking the cash wrap area. You always want to be sincere, and by giving good eye contact and having a warm or appropriate facial expression for you on your face shows sincerity. It's very important that you're consistent in how you give the feedback and to whom, because you want to create a team environment and not make it look like you're playing favorites. When you're giving the positive feedback, tell them how it helps. Tell them how it benefits the department. In my example of the stocked cash wrap area, I might say, you know, when the cash wrap area looks so good and it's so organized, it really makes it easier for everybody to give good customer service. And the last thing is to encourage more of the same. And you can do that simply by saying, keep up the good work.
Well, now we've talked about some ways to cover improvement, and we want to go on and build sales, and that was our next item on the agenda. So before we start into that, let's just pop a quick little question in here. And that question is, what are profitable ways to build sales in your department? And you'll see on your keypad you have the selection of A for prospecting, B for add-ons, C for markdowns, D, A or B only, or E, all of the above. So if you think each of those answers, which one you would be correct, press the letter that corresponds with each response, and we'll find out what you're thinking as far as what you think are the most profitable ways to build sales in your department.
And Sherry, I noticed that you put emphasis on the word profitable, and on our graphic we underlined it because that might be
a clue?
A clue that they can pick up on. Well, we're about 71% complete. Got quite a few answers. And that D and E are just kind of going neck and neck. So somebody's, I think, going to have the right answer.
And the right answer is D. And if we go back, the answer for D was A and B only. And again, our key there was profitable. And profitable means selling it for the greatest amount or the most reasonable amount that we can. And that would include prospecting and add-on selling. Now, yes, markdowns could increase sales in your department, but they may not necessarily be profitable. So, little catch there for you if you answered all of the above, because certainly at JCPenney, we're looking at ways to be profitable.
And I will say that we in a sense gave them two kind of gotchas. One was the profitable, but also when you give an opportunity to put E, all of the above, sometimes people just jump right on it thinking it's got to be right.
Sure. Well, we want to think about ways that we want to build sales. And there's a couple ways that will do it really well for us. The first is to increase the department's traffic. That's the number of people who are actually coming into our store. And that's going to give you more opportunity to sell. And the second opportunity relates to add-ons, which is selling more to each customer. And when you think about the role play that Barbara and I did, that's a good way to add on selling. The additional shirt that goes with the items, those are going to be the things that you'll want to look at. And we have a question from Rosemarie in Staten Island. Rosemarie, do you have a question or comment?
Oh, but I pressed the wrong button. I really didn't have any question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in and saying hello anyway.
And I guess we should mention this applies to any of the distance learning classes. If you press your red call button because you have a question or a comment and somebody else asks your question, or we just by coincidence answer it, you can always take yourself out of the call queue by pressing the red call button again. It's like a telephone. It hangs up the second time you do it.
Okay. Now, we talked about increasing our business, and one way we talked about was prospecting. And we want to encourage all of our associates to build relationships with our associates and prospect. Maybe building a client list in some areas. If they don't know how to prospect, the first way that they want to get started is certainly giving that good customer service. Because once we start there, the ability to prospect builds beyond that. Creating the relationship when the customer is shopping. You may have that customer that says, you know, I really like St. John's Bay. And when they say that, that's a clue to you to say, well, would you ever want me to call you if we get some new colors in or get some new items in, or when it's on sale? Because this customer has now conveyed to the associate that they have an interest in a product. Most customers, when they're asked a question like that, will go, well, sure, because don't we all want to save time? If we don't have to come in the store looking for something new, but somebody's telling us when something's new, that's going to save us time. We all want to save money when something's on sale. So you're building it based on your customers' needs and interests. So that's something we'd want to think about, but we've got Julia Polak in Greeley, Colorado. Julia, did you have a question or comment?
Could you lean into your keypad a little bit? We're having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, I have a question on what your department traffic system.
I hear you saying department traffic. Is that correct?
You're
I'm thinking that you're asking, you're breaking up a little bit here, that you're asking about increasing your department's traffic within your stores. Maybe how do you do that? Well, part of that is through the prospecting effort, by inviting those customers in again, asking them if they'd want a phone call when new products came in, when sales go on. So prospecting directly relates to that. Was that your question, Julia? I'm not hearing Julia, so I'm going to close out and assume that it is. We have a 1-800 caller. Tell us your name and location. And I think that just got hung up on us.
Okay. And Julia, if that wasn't your question, you may want to call us back on the 800 number, 404-7118, because your keypad was breaking up and we were only hearing like every other word. If you have associates in your area that aren't comfortable with prospecting, they could use some more information. Training is available. You might want to check with the associate that's responsible for training for your store. There's information on understanding the whole prospecting system, and there's also information and training that's available on how to prospect and words to say and who to prospect. And just last year, a video came out that gives information. It's called Prospecting Preview, and it gives information when it's time for targeted prospecting. Gives some tips on that.
Okay.
And other ways to increase your department's traffic, besides prospecting, so calling people to get them in, is by having department promotions, demonstrations, or even giveaways. And we have a couple of suggestions that MAs have done. These are real MAs at real stores, and we'll kind of walk you through. It might give you an idea of something that you can apply to your own department.
Well, here's one that's real familiar because this one just went through our National Bra Fit Week. So those of you who are from the lingerie area, you may know all about this one, but this is a special event for a customer. It provides a service as well as selling the products. And many of you know the success that can happen when you provide that service. Certainly this is an important issue to most women. They want to be comfortable. So this is a great promotion to consider.
Okay, and then another one is something that you might get involved with your community. You might be aware of a program where they're looking for donations in this case, Store 2231 knew that they were looking for children's coats. So in the boys department, they set up a promotion and they put out flyers to let the customers know that you could recycle your boys' coat. Naturally, when you come in and donate a coat, you would be looking to buy another coat, and they happen to have had a coat sale. How convenient.
Very nice. Contests are always fun. And here's a situation where it's guess the number of candy pumpkins. And this was right around that timing of fall and Halloween, so it kind of ties in with the theme, gets them interested. You can also collect some good names this way for prospecting.
Exactly. And a jewelry promotion where it involved cleaning. They had the sonic cleaner set up, and they put flyers around the store so other associates could direct customers to the jewelry cleaning event. Customers love a free service, and while they're in there having their jewelry cleaned, you know, they've got the wandering eye.
That's for sure. Here's an area here where we've had a tie-in again with another charity. This is Susan G. Komen program that does research for breast cancer, and JCPenney is very active in this particular group. So here we're relating the sales of our merchandise to a particular organization.
And that was Lee National Denim Day. And here's a promotion that Store 2217 did. Kind of fun. They're in junior sleepwear. They did some informal modeling. You can see the sleepwear is on display behind them. Now, of course, you know, this needs approval. You'd want to talk to your manager about it, but associates might get a big kick out of getting to wear the junior sleepwear to school, to work. You know, they're wearing it at home, and maybe they're college students and they're working part-time in the store and they wear it at home, but gosh, to be able to wear it to work, I don't think they probably drove to the store in it, though. That's
really quite the essence of casual, but certainly when everyone sees how good it looks, it's a great idea. Nora Medina in Downey, California, do you have a question or comment? Nora, are you with us? We hear a little scratchy noise. I'm not hearing Nora, so Nora, if you did have a question, go ahead and give us a call on the 1-800 number that you see here.
Okay, well, when Sherry introduced the slide about making things more profitable, she said increasing the traffic, but the second point was to build sales. And you do that by selling more to each customer that comes into the department. And suggestive selling is one way that you can increase the sales to a customer. A lot of times you think of it at the time of the purchase, but you know, by the time the customer has their credit card out, they're ready to move. So they want to move on. So you can think about suggestive selling in just greeting the customer. For example, if I were in casuals and there was a display of sweaters that were nicely folded and I see a customer looking at them, just approaching the customer and say, "Hi, aren't those gorgeous sweaters? You know, for $40, it's really a great buy because they're 100% wool and that button at the top is real wood." You don't usually find that at that price point. We've got them in the latest colors. Would you like to try one on? So I'm selling the customer on the idea that this is a great buy, it's the latest colors, and she may just be motivated enough to go try it on, or she may just know that she's a medium and this is the one she wants. Something to keep in mind when you're interacting with customers is that features tell, however benefits sell. And what we mean by that is the fact that this is a wool crepe suit is a feature, it's a fact about the suit. But the idea that wool crepe can be worn year-round is a benefit to the customer. And that's usually what sells the customer, is the benefits. So you want to know the features and the benefits. If you're following the new Richard Fenton series, Steps to the Sale, step 3 is presenting product, and he gives some good ideas on getting to know the features and benefits and how to present them to the customer.
Well, Barbara talked about approaching customers on the sales floor for additional selling. Another great place is in the fitting room, because they're in there and they're really interested in some merchandise and trying it on. This is the time that you can work with the customer best in bringing them additional pieces. And you know, there's a piece that was on the rack next to this that I thought you might like. It will really help make that outfit more versatile. There's a benefit right there. It's more versatile. And just say, I'll just hang it on the door for you to look at. It's a very gentle, persuasive issue. A customer may want to look at it and say, yeah, that'd be great, or no, I'm just interested in a couple pieces today. But you've at least put the thought in their mind. Hopefully they'll make the purchase today. Maybe they'll go home and think, oh, I should have bought that, and come back. But you know your department better than anyone else. Your customer isn't in every day like you are. Therefore, you are really providing a service and a benefit to the customer by showing them pieces. Some people might say, well, I feel like I'm a little pushy. Well, that's not pushy. It's more of providing the service, letting them know what's there. They don't have time to shop every rack. Most of our customers don't. And they appreciate some of the information that you can give them on what goes with it. Now, certainly you want to make sure that you are enhancing their primary choice. You don't want to be pulling something out of a completely different area. And your associates should be trained to make this part of the process as they work throughout the day with their customers. Some items are just natural to suggest. If it's coordinated items, within a certain label is a lot of times a good way to do that. But there are some things that you can use, some tools, that will help your associates in add-on selling. And let's take a look at what some of those forms might be in terms of add-on selling.
Okay. There's a natural suggestions, an item of the week, and there's also gift suggestions. And I'm going to walk you through some slides that'll show you, and I will give you a tip that this is one of the projects for after this session. The natural suggestion form, in this case we've got swimwear that is as the item, and just as a phrase that you might want to try is, allow me to show you cover-ups, beach towels, sunglasses. So think of natural suggestions for things in your area. An item of the week. This is something that you pick. It could be a new item, or it could be a slow seller that you'd like to feature because you really think that it can move profitably if associates start suggesting it. So you might be in women's accessories and you pick this great handbag, and you write up this sheet, you share it with the sales associates. Information about this specific handbag, but also the features and benefits, because that's how they can sell the customer. And in this case, let's say the handbag is leather, so be sure you mention on your form for the sales associates to pass on the benefits of leather. Leather is so long wear, and it's also weather resistant. And another suggestion form is a gift suggestion. Remember what it was like when you were new and a customer would come in and they'd say they're looking for a gift, and you were almost thinking, I'd love to help you, but I don't know what to suggest. Well, particularly for times of the year, in this case, if you're an MA and you have lingerie, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, events like that, make sure that you've got gift suggestions forms that are filled out and you've shared them with the sales associate. In that case, you want to make sure that it has information about the price point and what the item is, and some more information, so that if it's maybe the male customer that's coming in and shopping, you can give them a little information, that little selling information that they need to cause them to say, yep, I'll take it.
Okay. Now we've talked about building sales, coaching your associates, and establishing those sales goals. Now another part of your responsibility is monitoring what's happening here. And sometimes an associate may not be achieving a goal. And there may be certain reasons why they're not achieving the goal. So let's take a look at some scenarios or maybe some symptoms of this particular disease and take a look at some points to consider. Now here's our symptom. We have the average sale is low. So when you look at the report, you find out, well, they do have sales, but it's not making the goal, and you see that their average sale is lower. So some things to consider is add-on or suggestive selling. Maybe they're only ringing what the customer brings to the counter. Working with the customer to build sales, and we covered that by talking about how to approach them on the sales floor, how to help them in a fitting room. Maybe they're only selling sale merchandise. We think, well, customers always want things on sale, but some customers need things. And if we're only discussing the things that are on sale, we're not giving them the opportunity to make the purchases that they need. And certainly prospecting. Are we building the relationships with our customers that will allow us to prospect to help them?
Well, in Sherry's example, the average sale is low. What happens if the number of transactions is low? That's a symptom, and things that you could consider when you're coaching this associate is this associate having trouble closing the sale? And if so, maybe you can work with them, and a role play would be helpful here. Is the associate spending too much time in non-customer or non-sell activities? And also consider, is this associate only comfortable working with one customer at a time? Because in many cases we have more than one customer. What you need to do is look over the symptom and then talk to the associate and see if you can determine just what it is that the two of you can work on together, and you're being a coach in it to overcome that particular symptom.
Now, Barbara, it's important that we know who our customers are.
Exactly. And the company has identified some distinct target customers. And this is what we're focusing. It's more or less the new direction, the 1999 direction of JCPenney. And we want to share with you, you've probably seen this brochure before. It says who we are. And it's going to break it down into our target customers. There's the starting outs. These are the individuals that are less than 35 years of age. They're single or young families. Typically, they have no children or maybe one, and they have no strong retail ties. So they're establishing their shopping patterns, and we want them to establish their shopping pattern as JCPenney. The second target is the modern spender. This is the group that's 35 to 54 years of age. The dual earner households typically fall in with the modern spenders. They're both, the husband and the wife, work. They could have 0 to 2 children. These individuals are time-starved, and hey, they both work, so that's going to tie in with that. But they're also consumption-oriented, so they are looking to shop. These are the individuals that have the household income, they have the need, and they also don't have a lot of time. So we would like for the modern spenders to represent 50% of our customer base. So knowing that when you see the modern spender in your store, the idea would be to certainly greet all the customers. You want to do the same things that you do with all customers, but the modern spenders are the ones that you definitely want to prospect because they're time-starved and they buy a lot. So you can help them and they can help us, so hand in hand.
Hand in hand. Now that we've covered some of the information with you, let's just do a quick review. First of all, we discussed how to establish sales goal and how that relates to sales, hours, productivity, and scheduling. We talked about how to use coaching guidelines to improve performance of your associates. Different ways to build sales through prospecting and add-on selling. And we also touched a little bit on some visual merchandising. Now at this point, you may have some questions, so we've put the question slide up there. However, of course, we need to make one little change, And we're going to put that 800 number up there for you right there, that this would be the number you would want to call if you have any questions, comments, or anything you'd like to bring to our attention. We'd be glad to hear from you.
Well, Sherry, there's another project. Well, actually, there's a group of projects for after this session. And sessions 1, 2, 3, and 4 have projects after the session. Session 5 is graduation, so no project after session 5. So let me share with you, while we're waiting for calls, just a quick review of the projects. We have in the training materials an opportunity for you to meet with the training associate in your store. Also to plan a sales building activity, and maybe one of the ideas that we showed you would help. We're going to ask you to complete those item suggestion forms. Conduct a shopping exercise from a customer's perspective in your store, and then you always will have the training checklist for you to complete. And one thing I want to mention, before session 3, there's a pre-teleclass assignment of doing some retail math, and they're probably going, ooh, retail math.
Calculator, it's helpful.
But yes, calculators would be good. Bring a calculator to class for session 3, plus warm up your math skills, because there's about 5 retail math problems for you to work on before class, and we're going to talk about retail math as part of session 3.
We have LD Lemieux from Peabody, Massachusetts. Did you have a question or comment for us?
Yes, I have a question. Associates work very hard, but a lot of them don't make the sale goal because they're busy putting away stock. How do I judge them?
Okay, I think that's certainly one of the symptoms that we looked at was, are there associates who are so busy putting away stock that they're not getting to the customers? So some associates may have a higher sales level, others a lower sales level. What that might need to have as far as addressing is, are all associates involved in the department maintenance, i.e. putting away stock, taking markdowns, and some of the maintenance things that happen. So as an MA, you want to make sure that you have everyone trained and that they're involved equally. Now certainly we've always wanted to get the message across that nothing comes before customer. If we're not getting to our customer because of some of our maintenance and operational issues, this is something you'd want to spend some time discussing with your merchandise manager, possibly even your store manager. Did you have a follow-up question, LD?
No, thank you.
Okay.
And one thing, some stores are going into a stock replenishment program. There's a possibility that your store may add it after they see the success that other stores are having, where some people are assigned to just stock replenishment, which leaves the sales associates free for the selling.
Okay. Let's check in with Charlotte McManus in Vero Beach. Hello, Charlotte.
We'd like you to repeat the projects again, especially the last 3, because I couldn't write that fast.
Okay, they're in the class materials. Did you pull that up by any chance?
Class materials?
Right.
Well, this is my first session, so I haven't been able to do that yet.
Okay, there are the class materials that are available for you. All the projects are written out, and we're going to be putting up our email address. If you have any trouble locating the projects, then email us and we'll give you a step-by-step guide for finding them.
Kind of put that up for you real quick while we're waiting for another call to come up into the queue, and that'll give you an opportunity to just go ahead and copy those down. We do have a couple more calls coming, so we'll hold on for you.
We do have a big reminder, and that is that next week there is the MA contest kickoff. And I know that many of you are new to position, but you may want to think about entering the MA contest. It's for 4 weeks in October. So if you are interested, or there's other MAs, spread the word that next Thursday, September 2nd, 1:30 to 2:30 Central Time is the MA contest kickoff. We're going to give you some information about how to run a successful contest. We're going to give you some advice from the MAs that won this year, and I spent some time with them when they were here in Dallas to be recognized. They had a great time, but they were also videotaped so that they could give you some of the secrets to their success so that you may be the winner. There's going to be 8 winners. There's 4 full-line winners, 3 soft-line winners, and a Region 9 Geo winner. Plus, so they'll all come to Dallas, and out of those 8, 2 will be designated as the company winners. It's a great opportunity. It can be a lot of fun, too.
Certainly, it'll give you some great ideas, and especially if you're new to position and have never been through this, you'll get some ideas from MAs that are currently in your store, and your merchandiser will be a great resource as well. But we'll give you some tip-offs to get started. We still have a call coming in, but we will remind you of our next session.
This is where you'll need to have your math done and bring your calculator. And that's going to be, we're back to Mondays, September the 13th, and it's going to be from 10 to 11, and that'll be Central Time, of course.
Certainly, we appreciate you making that quick change of schedule for us this week. I know the contest drawing was on our usual timing on Monday, so we had to make a little bit of a move to get to be able to broadcast for you, but you'll find us back again on Mondays as usual.
And let me share our email address. If you have a question and it didn't come in, or you think of something later, you can email me. It's Barbara Stiebling at BSTIEBLI, or Sherry Schumacher at CDSCHUMA.
Okay, I'm not seeing any calls coming up to the top of the queue at this point. I think we've had a few people trying to call in, or maybe they changed their mind, but certainly our email address is always available for you, and we'll be glad to get back in touch with you should you have any questions.
Thanks for joining us, and have a great sales week.